Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to listen to Louise and I right now as we're talking about starting prep. Now, some of this information you will know, but others may not. So we're hoping to provide a range of conversation points for a variety of different understandings about starting school. We all have a huge range of different experiences about starting school, as do parents. And Trudy, one of our parents, has kindly sent in her first thoughts about when her oldest child, started school, and she says, below are some thoughts of our experience transitioning to prep from a first-time parent perspective. So there are two main things that stood out to us from our experience when our son started prep. It was smoother than expected, and we knew far, far less about what our son does every day than we ever did before. And we've certainly heard those thoughts from other parents as well. So practically there are lots of ways to prepare your child: trying on their uniform, practicing with their lunchbox, spending as much time at the school as possible before they start. We also found watching the Play School episode together when they were talking about starting school, and we will send you the links. In fact, we'll send you lots of information and some links after this talk. Trudy goes on to say, we truly found the whole experience was smoother than we expected, and many friends also found the same. One thing I will say, that if you are on the fence at all about doing a second year at kindy, I think it's a great idea. The difference between the children who are 4 at the start of the year and those who are 5 is very noticeable and continues throughout the year. The 4-year-olds generally appear to be the ones who are struggling with getting through the full 5 days. A few other thoughts. Have food ready at pickup. It's those practical tips that are so important. We have regularly done dinner at 4 o'clock and a snack later. A calendar of what is needed to go to school on what day is very useful because it quickly gets overwhelming. Make friends with other school parents if possible. They will be a huge support. Try not to get too frustrated when hats and jumpers inevitably go missing, something that Trudy says she's still working on. And mental health day once every now and again or so, it just doesn't hurt. So thanks, Trudy, very much for your thoughts, because we know how valuable it is for parents to hear from other parents. However, I would stress that it's important for you to keep talking with your child's teacher and friends or other parents who have had that school experience, but also not to get overwhelmed by it, because everybody's school journey is absolutely their own. School readiness is a term that's bandied about quite frequently, and however, Bob Perry, an Australian academic and member of an international research team, believes we should change the term school readiness to transition readiness, and I really, really like that. We should be building children's transition capital, ingrained dispositions such as resilience and flexibility. He believes that discontinuity is as important as smooth continuity in tradition with children, understanding the tensions in change and accepting these. We all know that change creates a heightened sense for all of us, but remembering some prior times of starting something can be helpful. The sentence starter, when I started kindy, for example, I felt, and now I feel. So, and that can be a useful way to remind children that they will get through these experiences. Some parents have and are continuing to question whether their child and school are ready for each other. So some of the decision-making considerations that many parents have gone through are things like considering your child's personality and their personal skills and dispositions, their ability and capability to manage and thrive with the prep curriculum. Clarifying, if you are in doubt, clarifying what you believe your child would achieve with an additional year at kindy, Or is it just hesitancy to move from something known? And for some parents, this is a really, really tough question. And the other thing to consider is extending thinking beyond being ready for prep, thinking ahead to the teenage and the end of school life challenges as well.
Hi, I'm Louise, for those of you that may not have seen me. I want to talk to you about your child's wishes for moving forward from prep, from the kindy environment into prep. And just for a moment, I want you to think about if you were giving your child a smooth transition into prep, what would be the things that you would really like to see? What would you like them to experience? What would you like them to be able to remember from their time in kindy and moving forward into prep, into a whole new world where it is so very different, so very fast, busy, and very tiring. So when we have done this workshop with parents before, we have often asked them to call out their ideas of all of those things. But some of the things that they have said is confidence and communication, being resilient and capable, being able to follow instructions and listen, to work independently, to be able to ask for help, to be considerate of others, to be able to control their emotions and have some self-regulation, coping with social problems, especially out in the playground, where there are all of a sudden no longer just 22, but there might be 122 or more. Being able to sit still, to have focused attention for lengthy periods of time, to have that stamina to be able to last through the day, or even just last through from the beginning of the day through until morning tea. To be safe and also to feel cared for. So all of those things are so incredibly important, and in a very nurtured world of kindy, they have been exposed to so many of those things. And for many of the children, there are glimpses of those things at this stage now. And there are some that have mastered more than a glimpse, and there are others that are still struggling to try and capture some of those things. But it's really important that we remember that what we have done here in kindy is something now that prep is going to be building through. So don't wait and hope for your child to be absolutely 100% perfect with all of these things now, when they've got another 12 whole years to be learning this and into the future as well. Some of the other things that that parents had talked about was making sure that the children understand that there's a routine throughout the day. At kindy, our days are routines. That is how kindy functions. They know that when they arrive in the morning, certain things are going to need to be done, jobs will need to be done, and they move into the day. The same thing will happen when they move into prep. Having the confidence to talk to others. It took a long time for some of these children to be able to talk to their peers, to be able to talk to their teachers. Still, even at this stage of the game, at the end of term 3, there are still some children that are struggling with these things. Is that they're not ready, or is that just their personality? They're not those big people that can just go and make a conversation or ask for help. But what we really want to do is to be able to support them and encourage them to be able to have some confidence to go and say, I do need some help, or I am feeling a bit lost or lonely, or perhaps I might need a cuddle today. One of the things that we parents have also said is for them to be able to calm their bodies. And I guess this is not just, this is probably more so boys. Boys seem to be the bouncy ones, but there are also girls that are bouncy too. And if they are busy and their bodies are moving around and they're just doing lots of jiggling and wriggling like this, that's going to drive their teacher a little bit crazy, and their brains are not going to be able to focus. So that is going to be the job of the prep teacher, to be able to, as we do, give them some ideas or the way he or she talks, and gives them some strategies to be able to calm themselves down. If your child is the wriggly jiggly one, it's going to be okay. They will learn when there is a time to be wriggling and jiggling. One of the other things that people were worried about and that they wanted to have is their children being able to transition from not finishing an activity during the day and being able to move on to the next. And at kindy, throughout the year, because we do have that routine times for things, we have given them the chance to be able to say, well, you haven't finished it now, but you will be able to go back and you'll be able to spend some time on it later. So frequently, that is often a thing that will happen in prep as well. But then there will be times when, I'm sorry, we've given you lots of time, you can't go back to finish that now. Maybe in your own time you be able to do it, or maybe it's something that you've done as much as you can in the time that we had, and that's okay. So reminding them that there are times when things are just not going to be able to go on and on and on forever. And I guess from a kindy perspective, that's where we're moving very much forward through from now. They are learning that there's an absolute time frame. It is lids on lunchboxes, time to move on, just like a bell will ring and it's time to move on to the next thing at school as well. From a prep teacher's perspective, there are a couple of things that I'll highlight, but they are things that also we've talked about and probably are part of your wishes as well, if you were able to be that fairy godmother and wave that wand and make your child's transition so perfect. Independence, responsibility, listening actively, not passively. It's important to remember that there are different types of listening, and sometimes it is okay to be that listener that is sitting there taking it in, but not actually acting on things straight away. But then there are other times when you do actually need to listen and move forward with all of those instructions. Mixing with others and caring and respect for others, taking turns, cooperation, initiating conversations, managing possessions, clothing, materials, shoes, as Trudy said in her email. That is a lifelong battle with school, and as adults you're probably still trying to find socks in washing machines that don't match up. Personal hygiene skills. Going to the toilet in a new environment is a big thing. In a school environment it's probably even bigger because it's not just often part of a room, it may well be down the stairs and a short walk away. So all of those things are things that need to be practiced and managed and talked about so the child feels comfortable. Often in prep, they will have a toilet buddy or somebody that they can go and say, I need to go to the toilet, can you come with me? Coordination, physical control of both small and large muscles, including the ability to be able to sit still for a long period of time. At kindy, these children have had access to scissors, sticky tape, glue, all of those things. So they are building those skills all the time. In our daily encounters here, we're doing obstacle courses, climbing, running, jumping, learning to sit in a circle and do those, listening to other people, building those core muscle strengths. It's so important to be able to make your fine and gross motor skills when you're sitting at a desk work the way you need them to. Speaking in front of an adult or a large group of people. One of the things here that a prep teacher might like to see is having a higher self-esteem or seeing themselves as competent and capable. That's a really tricky thing for children to be able to do. Some children can be confident and capable, others it's a building experience. So getting used to the environment first, and then all of a sudden they just take off and go, yeah, this is an okay place, I can do this. Awareness of language skills, oral and written, and mathematical concepts such as size, colour, weight and patterns. Don't think that you need to teach your child absolutely everything before they move on to prep. That is what prep is all about, is starting from the basics and moving through. So any of the incidental things that you have offered your child or that have been offered here at Kindy over these years, that's the building blocks for them, and then the teachers at prep and beyond will come in and teach them so much more. So don't think they need to know absolutely everything and they will be behind the 8 ball before they get there if they don't. Just take it day by day. The most important thing is for them to be able to follow instructions and to be able to clarify, feeling that they can come back and clarify if they're not quite sure. And that's the thing, to be able to reinforce with your child now. When you tell them something, say, did you understand what I said? Or just tell me what I've asked you to do. Just so they're actually processing that information, and that's really important. And you might be saying to yourself, what if my child doesn't have these? You know, maybe they're not like other children, maybe they're not going to be able to cope. Just remember those words. It is going to be okay. Prep is just another stage, another start in their education, just like Kindy was a stage and a start in their education. So they will be fine. There will be bumps and hurdles along the way. Just keep on supporting them, just like you have been doing in this Kindy year.
Literacy and numeracy understandings are often something that parents find really important and really are concerned about. And I think, as Louise was saying, that they are already developing a huge range of understandings just in their everyday learning. And as parents, I think that this is something that you do with your children every day. When you're talking to the children, you're noticing the one tree is bigger than the smaller tree. You're noticing the print that's around. You're looking at the McDonald's sign or reading the stop sign and the words around you. So it's those sorts of understandings that the children really need at this particular point in time. And I think that it's really easy to get caught up as a parent with, but my child's not writing their name, or that my child doesn't know how to read any of those things. That will happen. I think the really key parts is that oral language, those conversations that you're having with your children every day, and certainly that we're having with our children every day at Kindy. There's a huge range of resources that we can send you some links to that could support you as parents in building your understandings about, or what should I be talking to my child about, or what should my child know. I think the key thing is just to chill, relax, but really make use of those opportunities to talk and to discuss things. Ask your children what they think about something. Fine motor skills is another area that parents feel that their child doesn't have enough control or dexterity. And I think that this is certainly a time when it's important to have a lot of possibilities available for children. So when they're Play-Doh or clay or manipulative equipment and popping bubbles, or there's a huge range, and we will send you some links to some other possibilities. So once again, it's just having that balance between these more specific tasks and play. We do, however, strongly believe, and it's absolutely backed up by a huge range of research, that it's the dispositions for learning which are absolutely key for children to really thrive in the school environment. So, things like their willingness to try something new, and that's something that some children will jump in and give anything a go. Other children need that encouragement and support to try something new. And some children will never be the ones to jump in and try something new, but just slowly building up that confidence to give something new a go is really, really important. You know, we've had many opportunities with the COVID restrictions for children to build their independence, and look how far they've come. When they have to, you know, they've had to step up and carry their bags in and pack and unpack and complete those tasks independently. So I guess that's one of the silver linings of our current situation, is that the children are becoming more independent and resilient and flexible. Their whole world is changing. And you know, sometimes you can come to kindy, sometimes you can't, sometimes parents are wearing masks, sometimes they're not. So it's that adjusting to these changes. Their interdependence, how they relate to others, how they manage in the group situation, how they can work together if they can negotiate or if they're willing to compromise. So these are the skills that are really great to practice with siblings, or you know, so that they're not always the one to win. And if they don't win the game, it's not the end of the world. You know, sometimes we talk here about big problems and little problems, and helping children to distinguish between what's something that's worthwhile making a really big song and dance about, and what's something that they practice shrugging off and moving on. Now that's resilience. Resilience is absolute key, and I think that's something that it's really hard. Parents want to make their child's life smooth, and so they're not having these problems, but 4-year-olds have to practice solving 4-year-old problems, because otherwise they're not going to be able to practice 8-year-old problems and 10-year-old problems and 20-year-old problems. So that's that learning from mistakes. You know, I recently wrote a blog on our website with FAIL, First Attempt in Learning, and I absolutely believe that if we could support children to really get that, and by our responses we can help them to do that, then they're going to be far more able to cope with the challenges that they are definitely going to face when they go to school, and you're not there to help them through it. Let's see what else. Things like, oh yes, that perseverance. Some things are really hard. Some things are tough. Some things you have to try and try and try, and to not succeed at all, or not to succeed straight away. And I think that's that, you know, helping children to remember some times when things were tough and they had to try, maybe the monkey bars, that they've tried all year at kindy to get across the monkey bars. You know, that's a joyful opportunity when children just achieve something themselves. I mean, that's just so important for them to get that feeling themselves. We've talked a little about regulation, self-regulation, and that's certainly something that is hugely significant. And flexibility, being able to shift and change, and be able to adjust, and working memory. Louise talked about listening to and following instructions. So for children to do that, they need to be able to retain a lot of information in their heads for the moment. All these are part of their executive functioning skills. Now this session is just too short to be going into that, but I absolutely implore you to really build your understandings about executive functioning skills. We'll send you a range of links. This is just, and there is just so many things that children and families can do to support that. It's not something that you're born with or not. It's certainly something that you can practice given time. We incorporate a lot of executive functioning opportunities in the kindy environment, and because we feel it's just so important for children to have those opportunities to practice. So we will send you an attachment with some really good words, things like I wonder, I can't do it yet. Yet is a really important word to help children to understand that, yes, they are trying and you can't do it yet. And you're trying so that you will be able to. These dispositions are part of the information that's great to share. As we try and share this information with you, it's really important for you to share this information with the schools. Just at the beginning of the year, we didn't know your children and we were depending on you to give us some heads up. And another way that happens is through the transition statements that your child's teacher will be working on between mostly next term, and you have an opportunity to contribute your thoughts to that too. So this is an online process, and we will certainly be giving you more information as time goes by. I think that sharing information is absolute key, and Louise will talk a little bit more about some practical ways of sharing that information and also practical tips with managing the first few weeks of prep.
Okay, I'm just going to briefly touch on what you may or may not expect in the very first weeks to probably the end of term 1. For some children, moving from a 2-day or 3-day program into 5 days, a 5-day full week is going to be enormous. And that is coming off big weekends, and brothers and sisters may be doing sport and all sorts of other things. And then all of a sudden, they've got to rock up at prep on Monday morning and be feeling all bright and happy and ready and able to cope with things. If it is at all possible during those early days of prep to be able to cut down all of the other activities that you have got happening in your family for your mental health as well as your child's, it is really important to try and slow the world down. They are going to be tired. They have had somebody talking at them all day, expecting them to do things all day. They've had to cope with all of the things we've talked about, that huge resilience and independence and coping with all of the emotional changes that are going to be so much a part of their day. They're going to have highs and they're going to have lows. You will pick them up in the afternoon, either at 3 o'clock finish time, or it could be at 5:30 after aftercare. You know how you feel at the end of a long, hard day. They are feeling like that as well. So softly, go nice and easily. Wherever possible, streamline your days with them. So one of the things that we have some of the staff here have used with their children that have been hugely successful and are still, for one of these children, it still moves him through high school, so he can actually see how his day's going. So they could be really simple things like a little pictorial cue. First thing you do, you're going to get up and you're going to get dressed, shoes on, brush your teeth, pack your bag. These are the things that you're going to do, perhaps after you've had breakfast there. But these are the things that you're going to do. Or this one here that Jeanette has worked on, she's had other picture cues, and as her child did these things, he would, this is Velcro, lift them off, move them across onto that. So he could actually see this was what was ahead of him, but that independence of, wow, okay, I've got all of those sorts of things done. Jeanette's eyes could do a flick on this as well and say, okay, he's telling me that he's done all those things. We're all ready to move out the door and go to school, or we're all ready to, this is at the end of the day, we're ready to do our homework, have dinner and start to chill. But it just helps with some planning, and kids actually really enjoy having that routine and having a bit of a plan. I know myself, I tick boxes, I write myself a list and I work through, and I will gleefully tick things off or put a line through it. Children actually need to be able to do that as well. They're signing that off and their brains are signing those things off as well, so it's very important. As I said, taking out some of the extracurricular things. So if your child now is already starting to do some ballet and swimming lessons and tennis lessons, or art classes, all those things, it's a really great idea to be able to, in term 1 especially, just to be able to put all those things on hold. They will still be able to learn how to swim and do ballet and do all those things into the future, but from a fatigue point of view, to be able to cut down as many of those things as possible so they can just come home and play. They can come home and spend some time outside. They can just lie down and relax. At kindy we're trying to teach them how to be still and calm at times during the day. They may not have had that during their entire day at prep. So when they walk through the door at home and all they want to do is just chill for a bit, let them do them. Don't expect the big conversations about everything that has happened during their day. One of the big things, and Trudy spoke about that in her email, is the fact that during the day they may not have eaten much of their lunchbox foods. So being able to pack, well, we call it fast food. Not fast food as in hot chips and burgers and things like that, but foods that they can easily access and just eat straight away without having to worry about knives, forks, spoons, opening up packets and things like that. Something that they can put straight in their mouth and eat, so they've got something before that 10-minute bell rings and they have to move on to the next thing. Because sometimes it can take a long time to walk down, open up your lunchbox, or even before you get to walk down and find that lunchbox, you've got to find your bag in amongst everything else. So time throughout a day is very precious. So try and pack things in the lunchbox that are fast. Expect also that lunchbox food is just going to come home hardly touched at times. And that might just be an indicator for you as well as to how your child's day has gone. Having dinner as their afternoon tea food is a really good idea, because in that way they're getting food straight into them, and then if they want to, then they can have another little snack after they've had bath that might be at a normal dinner time that will see them through until the morning. Or you might find your child is so tired in those early weeks that they will eat that dinner time food at afternoon tea, and then they'll be able to just cruise through the afternoon and then go to bed when they need to. They may just fall asleep on the lounge. Some of the other things to be able to do is, as Leanne said, about advocating for your child. There will be readers and all sorts of things that will come home in pretty early on in the piece. You will know whether or not your child is going to be able to cope with those at the same pace that other children might be able to. So you may have friends that are saying, oh, we're reading and we're doing and we're writing. Your child may not be that person in the early days, and that's okay. Take the time to be able to say to the teacher, we're just too tired of an afternoon. Perhaps we might just read one book across a week, or we might just focus on a few sight words, things like that. Be your child's advocate. You have been your child's advocate since the day that they were born. You need to continue to do that right through, and you will find that that will happen right through even into their adulthood when you get a chance. Making sure that you are the informed parent. Read everything that comes home, even though your email box may already look and be absolutely bombarded. But if your child's the one that arrives at school and hasn't got the note or the thing that they needed to bring in for a thing, straight away you're making them feel, oh dear, I'm not ready to do this. So you're going to start to create those worrying feelings for them. So make sure that you try and keep on top of things. Mostly teachers will be able to support and guide your child even when those moments arise and you have slipped through and let something miss, but that's okay. But just try and stay on top of all the information that is coming home from school. There probably won't be as much information coming home from school though than you have had coming home from kindy, because we try and give you as much information as we can about what's happened across your child's days here at kindy. You might only find out information at school that happens, once every couple of weeks. So where possible, talk with other people, email a teacher and say, you know, how's it going? What's happening with her? Is everything okay? I'm sure the teacher will quickly flick you back an email. Make sure that you also support the teachers. So if your teacher is saying to you that, you know, that perhaps your child is feeling a little bit sad, or perhaps your child needs a bit of help, understand that they are seeing those things, and they are saying those things to you for a reason. So, you know, it's a chance to be able to say, oh, okay, perhaps this is something I do need to look into, or I do need to spend a bit more of time doing these things. It's tricky. It is a really, really tricky time. That first term, that first year of big school is busy, it's overwhelming, and you are tired. So like I said, if you can cut as many things out in your world as well, that's going to help you be able to survive this ride as well. So it's important for you to be able to say, I'm not going to be doing as much in my external time as my child is, because I need to be able to be there and focus on them as well. It's tricky, it's hard, and we understand it. I guess finishing off, and I have talked about that it's tricky and all there is. There will be some children that will enjoy this ride, and it will just be absolutely fabulous, and they will hit the ground running. And there will be other children that it is going to be a bumpy ride for. You will know your child, you will know how things are working. Take that time for those mental health days, as Leanne said. Give them a day off every so often. It is okay for them to chill and do nothing, or just have a mum or dad day if at all possible. Good for you to be able to do that as well. We are always here to answer any of your questions. If we have breezed over or touched on something that you would like to find out more information about, please have a conversation with your teachers here at Kindy. We are more than happy to talk through all of those, all of your thoughts, all of the challenges that you are feeling already. But also remember, the decision that you have made now, moving forward, going into prep, the decision about which prep school to actually attend, the decision about everything going through in your life, you need to make that decision and stick with it. Because if you start to show uncertainty, then you're already starting to send those vibes to your children as well. So you've made the reason, the choice for that school for a reason. Stick with it, run with it, make it work, you know, and we are here to support you right through. So all the best. We are absolutely cheering you and your children on, and don't forget to get in touch if you need to. Thanks.